Hello, good afternoon. Well, welcome back. Okay, I'll get started immediately. So this is a more abstract and high-level session than the one we've done with Motoko. Today, I will not talk about Motoko. I will talk about DAOs. And actually, for me, this is more important than Motoko and ICP and everything, because why I am so interested by Motoko and ICP, it's because I believe this is the best way that we have to build DAOs. But really, for me, the core of it is this, what I'm going to talk about today. And this is why I'm doing Motoko Bootcamp. I want to create a community of people that want to experiment, build, and brainstorm around DAOs. And I think the best way to start this project and this community is to create a DAO in 7 days. And so that's why we have centered the bootcamp around building DAOs. And we've seen some aspects of DAOs. We are going to see other aspects at the end of the week. You will build your final project. So you will really build and deploy your DAO. But of course, there is way more to DAOs than what we are doing this week, which is why it's so interesting. Okay, so I want to talk about the future of work. And so last year we heard something, well, 2 years ago when the COVID strike, we heard something called the Great Resignation. And the Great Resignation is not over. Many people are quitting their job. Either they don't work or they change jobs every 3-6 months. They are not happy with their job. And I think there are many reasons for that. But it was not the case like 50 years ago. It's the case now because our jobs have mainly like certain criteria that makes human happy about what they're doing. The main one is probably the lack of meaning. So why am I working? What am I contributing to? This is probably the number one. It's a huge problem for a lot of people. The second one, lack of flexibility. So like, when do I work? How do I work? And with who do I work? This is what I call flexibility. And honestly, the more flexible you can be, probably the happier you can be in your life. So most people will have to work when they don't necessarily want. Some people are forced to work at night, even though they don't want to. Some people are forced with work in, hard condition and everything. So there is the lack of flexibility in general in the work market. And the last one is lack of community. So, many people, they don't really, they work with people, but they don't really connect with them. I think it's a huge missed opportunity because we spend most of our time working. Well, at least a huge part of our time working. And for me, I want to be working with, like, more than just colleagues. I want to be working with a community. I want to be really connecting with who I work with because this is such an important part of life. So I think this is 3 reasons, and maybe last one would be lack of income. Maybe also how much you earn has also a huge impact on the quality of your life. But I think the money is more about, most people, they want just to have enough, and of course being like able to survive and do whatever they want. But I don't think it's the main criteria for most people. Anyway, how can DAO solve this? Can DAO even solve that? Well, I believe that they can solve some problems, not everything, but they can bring some new aspects to work. The first thing is that DAOs are flexible organizations. So you can, oh, sorry, I should put it like this, would be better. So yeah, DAOs are flexible organizations. So when you work for a DAO, it's not the same as working for a company. You don't have like the fixed schedule, you have to take your own responsibility and you have to be there when you need to complete missions or tasks. And so this is a more flexible organization. Essentially, it's the reverse. Instead of being, instead of being under some rules, you have to basically build your own rules and build your own lifestyle for around that, Then you got to choose your DAO. So there are more and more topics and communities that are building projects. And so you can choose who you want to work with and what you want to work on. Of course, this is not specific to DAOs. You can choose what company you will work for. But I think DAOs open more opportunities because they are global. So you don't need to be in a certain place and in a certain country to work for a certain community. You can do it from anywhere in the world. And the last thing is that most DAOs are community first. So it's a different paradigm instead of, and we can dive into what exactly is a community, what exactly is a corporation and all those things. But yeah, most of the time, the most successful DAOs are the ones that really take care of their community. So the people that gravitate around the project and the people that contribute, even if it's a little bit, just by their presence and their support. And finally, also, DAOs are much more flexible to enter and leave. So it's not like you have to commit to a DAO forever. Like if you want to be part of a community, you don't. Of course, if you get to some responsibility, you have to be committed, but you can enter in a DAO more easily than you can enter in a company. When you enter a company, it's a longer process. A DAO, you can just try things and it's more flexible. You can try different things. You can try and see what you like and what you don't like. So let's dream a little bit. And this is very like, all of this is very speculative. What does a DAO world looks like for me? For me, a DAO world, like a world where we successfully manage to use DAO, there are three main things. There is no corruption anymore. So that's a big improvement. That's a huge dream, but that's a big improvement. There is a huge improvement in our leadership. So whether we are talking about leadership of companies, of communities, of countries, of science, there is an improved leadership. I will explain why. And finally, there are more and more people that are searching for their purpose and they are finding, or at least they are gravitating towards it because they have more opportunities. So why no corruption? Well, imagine that everything like a government would be using a DAO for taking decisions and implementing some policies. We would be able to either make it fully transparent or make it semi-transparent for the topic that matters. And there would be way more possibilities to counteract in the case of a corruption or to prove a corruption. We could even imagine that we have artificial intelligence that would take a look at how the money is spent, and if there is some discrepancies or something strange, they could ring a bell or ring an alarm and say, oh, maybe this person has been spending the money like very, very strangely, and this is not the usual prices. This is very strange. Is this corruption? Is this really, really good for the country? So that could be a huge improvement to how we manage and how we run countries. Improve leaderships goes very closely with that, because imagine that you run a country with a DAO and you have to be transparent, because you can use technology to kind of have a retroactive action on the leadership. So what I mean by that is you build a system such that if the leaders in place don't fulfill their role, or there is something that they don't respect in the contract, or they lie, or something that can be proved, you can essentially remove their role or remove their access, or make some kind of action against them. And I believe that in a DAO world, we will see better leaders rise to the top. So why? Because you really have to gain trust, and well, you have to gain trust and you have to keep the trust. and it's so easy to lose it. It's very hard to get it. It's really easy to lose it. And yeah, essentially that would be eliminating, it would be easier to eliminate the leaders that are here for their own interest and not for the interest of the group. So it's all about how can we build a system that, arrive to improve leadership, and what even improve leadership means. I have a few ideas. I think it means like transparency, commitment, and values. So I can disagree with someone, but I think if someone is consistent, has integrity and commitment, this is already a huge improvement. Doesn't mean that we will solve, all issues, all political issues, but at least we get we get integrity, which is already good and good improvement. And finally, search of purpose. I think it's because you have more opportunities to work for different projects, and you have opportunities to get involved into different communities. So one dream of a few people that are building DAOs is to use DAOs to disrupt, make science and research more accessible. And I know that it would be super interesting to see if, because right now, most of the careers and most of the research, if you are not in the academic world, you cannot really contribute to anything, and you cannot really try things. So you have to commit to do your PhD, spend a lot of time. And that makes sense, but that also blocks people that maybe want to try things. And it's the same for most jobs and opportunities. If you are not in the correct country, if you are not in the correct settings, you might not have the opportunities. Whereas I believe DAOs are organizations that can scale and that can include way more people. And essentially, it's about bringing opportunities to people. If you bring opportunities to people, then you can help a lot of people, and at a much bigger scale. And I think most people, they don't need so much. They just need a little bit to, get excited, get started, and then they can keep building their own path. So let's talk about more concrete DAOs. And so we are just in the beginning of this. So I want to talk about 3 DAOs. The first one is UnisSwap. The second one is Gitcoin. The last one is NNS. I've chosen all of them for a specific reason. For each of them, there is a specific aspect that I like and another one that I don't like so much. But all of them are super interesting. So UnisSwap and Gitcoin are mostly from the Ethereum world, whereas the last one is from ICP. This is actually the DAO that governs ICP. Okay, so UnisSwap, what is UnisSwap? UnisSwap is a decentralized finance application built on Ethereum, so you can use it to essentially swap tokens. If you have Ethereum, you can swap for any other token like USDC, USDT, DAI. And so UnisSwap is a project that was actually started before the DAO was created. So the project was launched in 2018. The token was launched 2 years later, and the DAO was launched around the same time, a few months after the token was launched. What I like about them is that they haven't rushed into creating their DAO. They have created a project. They've made a meaningful application. They've helped people. They have a use case, and their application is used by millions of people. And then they decided to launch a token and to launch a DAO, but they didn't rush into launching the token and the DAO, which I see a lot of projects doing. And I think it's not necessarily the best way. You have to first provide value, and then you can create a DAO and create a token and try to decentralize and scale that. And also, it's one of the best distribution of token that happens in the Ethereum world, because they've essentially retroactively distribute tokens. So they've rewarded all their previous users, all their OG supporters, and they've sent them token. So it has been hugely positively, regarded very positively by the community. Like, people one day woke up and they realized they received an airdrop from UnisSwap, which was worth a few $1,000s at some points. So of course, most people were really, really happy with that. Now, what I don't like too much about UnisSwap, it's the actual DAO, how it's implemented, because it's very limited. So you can see on the top, on the bottom right, the DAO is mostly like a voting system, but nothing more. So what I mean by that is that you have proposals that are listed and you can vote on them. For example, to deploy on other networks, to change some configuration of the contracts, like the fees and everything, you can configure a few things. But then when you vote, nothing really happens. It's up to the developer and the team of that are responsible of the project to implement those changes. Of course, they are known and they are, they have their reputation and they have their project, so they are not necessarily going to not respect the votes. But in theory, there is nothing really preventing them from doing so. And also, most of the proposals are really, really basic. It's mostly about deploying. And so it's just like a line. There is nothing really happening. It's not like automating things. You have also a very basic voting system because it's about how much token you own. There is nothing more into account. So yeah, it's a really, really cool project, but it's a basic DAO, I think. Now, Gitcoin, I like it. It's a similar type of project, which was launched around the same time, a little bit earlier than UnisSwap. What they do is they do open source funding for developers. So already that's a good project. I like it. And they do quadratic funding. And I like them because it's regarded as one of the best DAO in the sense that it's really one of the most decentralized DAO. So you can see the repartition on the diagram on the right. They have a lot of external contributors. So actually people that are not part of the main team that have abilities to take decisions and to contribute to the project. And that's regarded as one of the best DAO in the Ethereum ecosystem. And so I think it's an example for how to start your DAO, or at least how to involve other people into your project. Also, the fact that it's a nice project, it's a good project, a meaningful project. I think that's also why people join and contributed to the DAO. But again, same thing as Uniswap, they don't really do much thing with the DAO. The actual like technical side of the DAO, they just have a multi-sig wallet. They can take decisions, they can vote, but there is not, there is not on-chain things happening when they vote. There is not like automated. It might have changed because I look into it like it was around 6 months ago, and I know that they are improving. So maybe now they have some aspects that are like automated and everything, but still you have a few people that, you cannot really scale that beyond a few individuals. So that's still, I would say, a very early DAO. Now, NNS is a completely other beast. So it's the DAO that governs the ICP network, actually. So you can see that we have on-chain governance and upgrades to the protocol. It was launched at the same time that the network was launched. And so this is a very interesting experiment for me. I don't know if this will be like super positive in the end, or if it will be not decentralized in the end. I'm not sure. But what is sure is that the technology that makes this possible is really nice and really impressive. So the NNS actually takes decision on chain and implements those decisions on chains. So what I mean by that is that you have a few canisters. I've listed some of them. For example, the ledger, the governance, the registry, and the NNS UI. All those canisters, they compose the NNS. So they are part of the, I would say, infrastructure that makes up the DAO. And so you as a user can come, participate by staking your ICP, and you can take decisions and participate in some decisions. And then when those decisions are voted on and agreed upon, those decisions are automatically implemented. So for example, when you have a SNS deployment that is deployed, this is voted on and this is automatically done. New nodes added to the network, this is automatically done. New version of the ICP protocol, this is also automatically, implemented. And so that's very impressive because there is it's automatically managed. There is not one person doing the work, like looking at the proposal and then implementing them. So I think it's the most advanced DAO that exists on the like technical side. What is maybe missing with the NNS is probably the aspect of decentralization. Like, can we be sure that this is decentralized? How can we look at some metrics? Of course, everything is public, but I think we are still so early that you need to have a few like organizations or people that wants to decentralize and try to take actions. So of course, sometimes there would be some controversy. For example, I can see Friedrich, you're talking about the manipulations, and I don't know like exactly what is a manipulation, but of course, there will be decisions that the DAO will take that will not fit everyone. And I think the most important part is that this DAO can evolve. So right now, the the DAO is what it is, like it's running and it's working, but it's a flexible system, so you can also implement new things to improve it. For example, one thing that I would like to see is a system of proof of humanity or proof of identity added to the NNS. So right now, one problem that we have is that we have multiple neurons, but we don't know if one person owns multiple neurons. We wouldn't be able to tell, like, so you cannot really say if the system is decentralized, or at least, yeah, how many people really can take decisions if they group together. So you cannot really answer this question. But if you had a system like this, you would be able to answer. And you would be able to answer without revealing the identity of the people, because that could be also dangerous for those people. So there are many, many improvements that could be made. Yeah, it's an open experimentation in the making, and we will see how everything turns out. So the second thing that I'm excited about is the SNS framework. So the SNS is something I wanted to do a live demo on. If you go to the dashboard and you go to SNS, so SNS, service nervous systems, and I don't know if those are the best names. This is a bit confusing, but essentially what it means is that all those applications are controlled by a DAO. And so maybe we can explore one. For example, Mod Club. Mod Club is, we can try the application. Decentralized content moderation. So it's a decentralized content moderation platform. It explains how it works. You can earn rewards if you are a moderator in their DAO. You can earn some tokens, and essentially they integrate with other applications and they provide a service which is moderation. So they apparently they provide proof of humanity also, random task, all sorts of like services, AI detection, and so on. And so they have raised money by launching an SNS. How do you do that? Imagine that you have your canisters, and one day, instead of having control over the canister, so instead of you, the developer, being able to upgrade the canister whenever you want, you sell the control of the application to your community. And so now the application, and you can see all the canisters that compose Mod Club. So there are a lot of them. They are all listed here. All those canisters are under the control of the DAO. So only the DAO, and you can see here, is able to upgrade the application. So for example, this is a proposal to upgrade SNS controlled canister. You have the canister ID, the WASM, which is the code, the module of the code. And essentially you could take a look at so I don't think this one is the best one to look at. Well, this one is more interesting. So they are basically using some amount of funds from the treasury, and they are asking the community to approve, and they are asking, like they are listing their achievements for 2023 and listing the roadmap for 2024. So yeah, this is what they are talking about, and they want to use the funding that they have raised through the DAO here. And so all of this is transparent. This is also an experiment because, I mean, we don't know if, like, for example, if you are part of this DAO, so if you invest in this project or you use the product and you are part of the DAO, then maybe you don't know. It's possible in theory that the team will, steal the treasury at some point if they have enough voting power, if people follow them. It's possible. It's an experimentation. It's an experiment. So I think some of them will work, some of them won't work. Probably depends a lot on the quality of the team and their integrity as well. But I think in any case, it's super interesting that we can have this, like an application that is controlled transparently like this. And so how can you participate in this? Well, there are many ways. First way would be, of course, to build your own, your own application, to raise money through this system or another system, and to create your DAO. Second way would be to invest in the project that you like. I will never recommend any project in the Motoko Bootcamp. This is not financial advice. You need to do your research, and it's not because I'm excited about DAOs that I will invest in every DAO. Like, I believe that the general framework and idea is really good, but then it doesn't mean that all projects will succeed. And actually, I think most of the project will not succeed, only a little amount of them. Kind of like when you have the internet bubble, you have a lot of companies that goes into it, and in the end, you only have a few that makes a real, like, sustainable business and use case. So that's it for the SNS. And you could also just use the application. I mean, those are applications, so they are meant to be used. And as a user, you would probably be rewarded with tokens and all sorts of things. So that would be very good for you. So a few questions. What can I use a DAO for? Well, we've seen we can use a DAO for many things. Managing a DeFi application would be something. This is the case of UnisSwap. Taking investment decisions, that's also something I've seen people do. They regroup many people together, they regroup and they create like a wallet in common, and they take investment decisions together as a DAO. I don't know if this is good or not. I don't know if they are more efficient than like taking investments solo as a solo person, but this is something that is possible. Managing a grant program, maybe the grant program from Definity, I would like to see it managed by a DAO one day. That would be nice. Managing a social network, OpenChat, Discover. Discover is not decentralized yet, but they are in the process, I believe. And I would like to, what DAOs and DAOs can do right now. So DAOs can control and use the treasury. That's already the case on Ethereum. That's the case on ICP, and that's something we know how to do, and it works. A DAO can now control software and application, so that's the next step. What we haven't seen so far, and I might be wrong, but honestly, I've made a lot of research, and I will keep on doing research. I haven't seen a real like DAO really coordinate people and having a lot of people working together. Like, most of the time it's very limited. You actually just have one team that do the job, so usually like between 2 and 20 people, and then you have a community, but I don't think it is as developed as it could be. Like, what I really want to see, and I don't know if it's possible, but I hope that one day it will be, is a DAO that has multiple contributors that don't necessarily like know each other, or they they are very like different, and they are more efficient than a company. Like that would be amazing. And I have a lot of questions, so actually I have more questions than I have answer. A few questions that I ask myself to those days, and maybe you would be able to answer some of them. How can local communities leverage DAOs? So I have seen a few people working in that direction. Local communities are very efficient for, connecting locally with the people, doing like events, and really knowing the specificities of, the place, like the country or the region, the departments where the things are located. And DAOs are more efficient for sharing knowledge, sharing like tips, sharing capitals and investments. So I wonder if it's possible, to make a DAO that connects different local communities together. Maybe there is a local community that wants to, I don't know, manage a forest, for example, and they have a knowledge base, and then they can connect with other. Did I freeze? I freeze a bit, I think. They can connect with other DAOs, other local communities through a DAO, and the DAO is there to, manage the knowledge base, manage some toolings, platforms, infrastructure, capital, and all the local communities can act locally, but they are all connected through this DAO. So that would be a possibility. I've seen some people working towards that. Can DAOs be more efficient than traditional companies? Of course, that's the big question. I believe they can, but we will see if it's possible in the future. The voting systems, what is the best voting system? I don't know. Is it like a one token, one vote? Is it about the anciently? Like if you are invested in the DAO for many, many years, you have more voting power than someone that is new. That could be something. How to help integrate everyone into DAOs. Many people are not good with technology. And I think this is maybe a big problem for DAOs because right now to work or like, to be into this, you need to understand technology. And if the DAOs paradigm become like a global and everyone needs to use DAOs in their daily life, how are they going to be connected if they don't know how to use technology? I'm thinking about old people generally. How DAOs can leverage AI. This is super interesting. Many DAOs are actually working right now on models. So custom model for the DAO, because the DAO is going to have specific problem and specific knowledge. And so you can train a model for that specific DAO, which would be super efficient. And how to prevent toxic leadership. So that's another question. Yeah. So do you have questions? I know that was a lot. I went into all directions, but I like to talk about that. How could a DAO operate on cross-chain application? Do you have to get one for each chain? No, you can have one DAO, but the infrastructure of the DAO would be deployed on many chains. So you would have maybe a main infrastructure on ICP, for example, and then with this infrastructure that the DAO controls, you could connect to other chains. You could have maybe a wallet on Ethereum or smart contracts on Ethereum. The DAO could totally be multi-chains. Yeah, that's not a problem. Actually, most DAOs are multi-chains or are about to get multi-chain. I'm curious what you guys think in the chat. Let me know. Maybe I was too much abstract, or it's a new topic, so it's hard to get it right. So maybe I can show you a few DAOs that were built by students in the previous bootcamps. For example, this one, maybe the bootcamp DAO. No, not this one. Okay, this one is interesting. So this is a basic DAO that you should be able to build by the end of the week. And the idea is that we have an interface. So this is a front end. And we have a website. So this is an external website that is actually built from, so you can see this is a canister here that stores this web page. And this DAO controls a website. So that's, that's basic. But that's interesting. And that's the first step. I think I've listed it as one of the example. What you can do is create a proposal. So you can modify the DAO parameters. You can change the, you have a few parameters that you can change, like vote threshold and so on. But mainly what you can do is change the text. So let's go. This is a DAO control website. I submit my proposal and you can see I have a balance of token. I think you receive it automatically when you log in, you receive 1000 token. And then you are able to essentially see the list of proposals. You can see some of them are open. So open, and you can vote on it. So I voted yes here. And whenever this is approved, so it's approved apparently, you can go here and it should change the text. So yeah, this is essentially this DAO. So this voting system controls this website. And this is what you should be building at the end of this week. I'll give more details to the final project in 2 days, I think, on Friday. We have a session, 1 hour session dedicated to it. But I wanted to show you, this is a very basic project, but it's also, I think, showcasing a lot of possibilities, because this is one canister here and this is another one here. Essentially one canister controls another one, and so you can call any method or change any parameter on it through a vote here. So this website is not written fully in Motoko. There is a front-end side of things. The backend, this web page is in Motoko. The backend of this is in Motoko, but the front-end that you see here is in Svelte, I believe. And as you can see, you can log in with internet identity. In my opinion, there is a great, yes, we will learn how to integrate with a front end on Friday, actually. I don't want to make it a JavaScript bootcamp. It's you will be provided a template, like a template front end. So if you want to customize the front end, you will be able to do it. But if you are not familiar with JavaScript and you just, you don't want to work on the front end, you want to focus on the back end on Motoko, you won't have to write JavaScript. I will provide the code. But I will show you how it works. It's not very, very complex. Can we use Python? What do you want to use Python for? The backend or the front end? I don't know if you can use the backend. No, one of the requirement of the final project is that you have to write it in Motoko. So yeah. Okay. Great. There is nothing more today, so that's about it. Tomorrow we have a mentorship session, a session about upgrading canisters. So this is super important because we need to upgrade if we want to, build applications. And right now we don't know how to do that. Then we will build the level 4, and at the end we will have a session with Isaac. So there will be a guest this time, and we will talk about what can we build on ICP. We will brainstorm a few projects, a few ideas, and that should be interesting for you as you go towards the end of the week. You will have more, more ideas of what you could build for the final project or for the end of the week, for after the week, sorry. Thanks, Alexandra. I will. Maybe you want to have a chat with me by DM because that's interesting. Yeah. Are you on our Discord? Okay. Well, you can send me a quick DM with maybe the link to the projects. We can have a talk. That sounds interesting. Thanks. I am glad that you like the session. Is something happening in our teams? Well, right now, you can ping your team, but I don't know. We will have a collaborative brainstorm session on the weekend. I think more people will be there. I know that a lot of people told me they have commitment during the week. But otherwise, the final project is a solo project. So yeah, the teams are mainly there to, help you if you are lost. And this weekend, I think you will need your team because you will have less guidance than during the week. Okay, I see everyone tomorrow. Good luck. Bye.